Hello.
For a split second there, my face was just the main bit. I accidentally clicked on my face. Can you all hear us good?
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Can you all hear us?
Hello.
Hi. So I was just testing. Oh, you could all hear us. Hi guys and welcome. This is the Picking Brains podcast with the zombie infection cast and crew and our special guest today, Mikey from Scaretrack. But first, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Charlie. I'm a scare actor and community manager at Zombie Infection. Basically means I play games for Zombie Infection all day.
Hi guys, my name's Megan. I am a scare actor and also Twitch gamer for Zombie Infection. So, hey.
I'm Aiden. I'm a scare actor and professional rager on stream.
And we have
mine as well.
Boop boop.
I'm Mikey from the Scaretrack podcast.
Also,
First time.
Yeah.
First time.
Got it.
So to start off, Meg, why don't you give us a little introduction? You know, you've done your research. That's what we do on this stream. We do our research. And Meg, take it away.
Okie doke. So, Scaretrack, for those who don't know, is the UK's first podcast dedicated to the scare attraction and haunted house industry. And content includes on-location reviews from scream parks, zombie chases, immersive theatre, mazes, all the works. And along with discussion and debate episodes, interviews with some of the biggest names in the industry, and there's also Coaster Track and Beer Break. And there are now over 200 episodes in their back catalogue for you all to look at as well. So,
Hell yeah. Do you reckon that's spot on, Mikey? You got anything else to say?
Definitely done your homework.
We're proud of that.
I am, to be honest. I do my research.
Nice. I like it.
We love her for that. So to get kick-started, I thought we'd do a little quick fire round. Just nice and easy questions. You can, boom, get the answer straight away, and we can learn a couple things. So, Aiden, my G, are you ready?
Right. I'm ready. Right. When did Scaretrack start?
We started playing around with things in 2015, but we didn't really properly get the ball rolling until 2016.
Right. Brilliant. What's the worst attraction you've been to?
Wow.
No pressure. We hit hard.
Fast round.
Okay,
sorry.
Vulcan Peak, easily. Who wouldn't say Vulcan Peak?
Okay. What about the best attraction?
Best attractions hard, mate. I'm going to say Nightmare at Horror Nights in Europa Park 2014.
Well, this is my question personally, but when you go through scare mazes, what do you look for?
Everything.
You look
Actors,
for everything.
sets, smells, lighting. Sometimes I wish I had more eyes because I look for everything.
I'm the same as me, but I look for sets older because obviously I'm used to being scared, but you know, it's all good. What's your worst fear or something you really don't like when you're going through a maze?
Something I really don't like. Snakes. Like,
yep.
I used to be. I couldn't even watch The Jungle Book, and that's a cartoon. Since then, I've had some therapy, and I'm getting over it. But still, anything that has like a hissing or a snake, no, I'm good, thanks.
How many attractions do you reckon you've done since starting Scaretrack? If you had to estimate.
432.
Oh, you know.
Wow.
What?
Loser.
Wow.
Wow.
I think unless I've forgotten something that I've like blocked out of my childhood, but yeah, pretty certain. Because everyone on theme parks do coaster counts, and then they started doing maze counts. So I was like, my coaster count ain't that good. So I thought, let's count the other stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty certain 432.
I'm actually shocked. I didn't know. I was like, oh my god, you actually know the exact answer.
Yeah.
Crazy. Partially jealous as well. And if I'm correct, that concludes the quickfire round of questions, Aiden.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Ooh, I can start breathing again. Right.
Yeah, it's nice and chill from here on out.
Sorry, I threw some harsh questions there. No pressure. Like,
no, it's fine. It's
gotta
okay.
hit hard.
Yeah.
So, Megan, take it away.
Yeah. So, got a couple of questions. First one is, what actually inspired you to start the podcast?
So, back around 5 years ago now, it was actually a friend of mine who's more tech savvy than I was. Really, I wouldn't have a clue on how to start a podcast or anything like that. Mentioned that there's nothing like that in the UK whatsoever. Let's be honest, we run a podcast on scare attractions, niche. Like, you can't get more niche than that. But we were looking over to the States, and there's actually quite a lot over there, especially theme park podcasts. And it was more of a case of I was doing loads of research for my first time of going to Orlando. So I was listening to lots of Horror Nights podcasts, Universal podcasts, Disney World podcasts, and we were collectively, as three of us at the time, were just like, you know what? There's nothing like this in the UK. There's some theme park bloggers that do their thing. There's some fantastic review sites out there, and I've been writing reviews for another site for a few years, and we were like, let's do it, let's give it a go. Since then, the tech person sort of disappeared rather quickly. The scene just wasn't for him anymore, so he took a step down rather quick in those first 16 episodes. And since then, I was like, all of a sudden, I've got to learn how to record a podcast. But that's where it sort of started snowboarding, really. From 2016, we just really wanted to get the ball rolling, and that's sort of what made us start, really. Blame it on American podcasts.
Fantastic. Well, to be fair, in America, Halloween is much bigger than in the UK. So I kind of understand where it comes from, really.
That's what made me fall in love with horror. Went to Halloween Horror Nights once in 2010, and that was it. I absolutely loved it. Like, it was the best experience. It's amazing.
Yeah, Halloween Horror Nights is on my list.
One of our question is. One of our audience members just asked, what was Fright Nights at Universal Studios actually like in America?
Oh,
it's so good. It's, you know what? It's hard to explain because they do things exactly the same yet totally different. Would you agree, Aidan? Would you say it's
literally? I think I was only 15, 16, so I wasn't properly like into horror. But like to go into, you imagine like Alton Towers, you go to Fright Nights, but like every single part of the park has something different, even like outside the mazes, and they build the mazes for the whole year.
Yeah,
up to it. So
it is huge. I mean, the year I went, they had 9 mazes, 5 scare zones, extra roaming hordes, shows. So when it comes to Universal as well, they have a mixture of IP houses, intellectual properties. So we got to go through the Exorcist house, which was great.
Nice.
And then they had their own houses as well, like their own homemade houses that they think of themselves, which is awesome to see how these people are not only creating movies, bringing the movies to life, which is what they do with rides anyway in the theme park, but it's good to bring a horror aspect to that. The huge difference is that they use conga line, so it's a constant, it never stops, so there's no batching. And they have to, purely because the queues are so long that it's such a thousands and thousands of people go, but I was slightly anxious about that. I thought, to me, when I go through a maze or an attraction here in the UK, the smaller the group, the better. So I was kind of anxious about going through these massive conga-lined linear attractions. But they've been doing it a long time. They know how to do it well. So I was pleasantly surprised. But the atmosphere of the event as a whole is just insane. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what's been the standout moment from when you started the podcast?
For me, was when we went to Horror Nights. It was called Horror Nights at Europa Park. It's now changed its name to Traumatica. But the first 2 times we went, we actually weren't doing the podcast. We just went there as fans. But then the year that we started the podcast, I went through a house and I just had random German actors shouting, "Scaretrack! Scaretrack!" That, to me, although that might sound a little bit self-indulgent, a little bit big-headed, but that was the highlight to me. The fact that, wow, people over here like it. That's cool. So
that's wicked.
yeah, that was really
That's so
humbling as
cool.
well. So I was really happy with that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's wicked to, have put so much energy and creativity into something that you really enjoy making, and having someone, that you wouldn't expect maybe
Of
to
course,
hear
yeah.
from. I bet it just is fantastic feeling.
Definitely. I mean, without getting too soppy or anything, but there's no point. It's similar to you guys. There's no point doing it if people aren't going to watch or listen or interact. And the more they do, the more you get that. Although it's awesome, that's kind of what we want to do. You want to have an audience, although it's should never be about the numbers as such. But it's nice to see that something that you're loving, you're enjoying, that you work so hard on, other people are getting something out of your content, and that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, we agree. It's like a couple times we've had those moments where people have said, "Oh, we've come from like Amsterdam, or we've come from Germany," and we're like, "What?" Like,
Wow.
it's crazy, and it just sets you back. Like, oh my goodness, it really has that moment, which is incredible.
Definitely.
My question to you is, you've been to so many scare attractions. Would you class yourself as an expert in that field, maybe?
Expert is a tough word, really, because in this industry, there's no people can get PhDs or masters or degrees in certain aspects of their type of theatre or their type of attraction, and I know unis are now being so much more relaxed on what people can choose to have their main subject and things like that, or their main paper on, at least their dissertation. But expert, I wouldn't say expert, but I'd say that I like to take an approach from what I've learned in the past when it comes to visiting and reviewing. I got my degree in theatre, which covered a lot of scenography, so I know bits and bobs of set and lighting and sound and smells. I heavily focused on physical theatre. Well, every scare actor does physical theatre, in my opinion. Without getting too theatrical and too thespian on people, I focused a lot on Artaud, which Artaudian theatre is it's theatre of cruelty, it's theatre of senses, and in my opinion, scare acting or scare mazes, haunts, whatever you call them, attractions, to me, that's just theatre of cruelty for the 21st century. It's making your audience feel uncomfortable, scared, disgusted, frightened, spooked, laughing, anything. So although expert, I wouldn't say expert myself, because then my head won't fit through a door. But I'd like to think, I've done quite a few now, and I did quite a few attractions before we started Scaretrack. I didn't want to be that guy that I've done Alton Towers Scarefest, so I'm going to start a podcast on this. I wanted to get a bit of, do the independents, do a few home haunts if possible, and just find your feet a little bit, and then connect that to what I've learned with my degree, and try and mash it all together. So I wouldn't say expert, but I wouldn't say that I don't know anything about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, experienced, you'll say.
Maybe experienced. Yeah, there's other people out there. If you said to me, Mikey, build a scare attraction, I'd go, whoa. There's experts out there that do that. Contact Stuart Tully's or UVE or people that know what they're doing in that respect. But if people came to me and said, I've got this idea, I'd like to think that I'd be able to go, that's not going to work, or that's really going to work. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I really love what you said about the theatre of scare acting, because I'm a big theatre nerd. I'm gonna say it. And like studying Artaud and theatre of cruelty, all the aspects of that, I find that scare acting is kind of like it is a theatre art, and there is like
Definitely
skills and technical aspects to it. It's just that it's just perceived as not so much, which is a bit of a shame. But it really is theatre. It still is,
Oh, definitely. A scare maze, to me, is just a piece of dark horror promenade theatre. That's exactly all it is. Whether or not it's just a simple scare in each room, or you have a 5 to 7 minute production performed in front of you, like a Dungeons, or like House of Henos, Warsaw last year. It's it's all theatre. It's all actors in front of you. So yeah, I'd say it's theatre.
I think it's weird as well, the fact, like, most of the theatre places, apart from I've noticed Scare mazes are more, there's a very big variety of ages that are doing it as well, as in actual actors.
Yeah,
Whereas in
definitely.
most theatre places, it's kind of, not a similar age, but you know what I mean, like, I was maybe a 5-10 year gap. Whereas in the scary industry, it's a massive, like, range. I've never done theatre before. I've never acted in my life until I started scare acting about 7 years ago. But, like, I've noticed how many different types of people, as in, like, ages, like, obviously genders and everything. Everything's so different compared to other theatre groups that maybe you've seen in the past and stuff, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. The diversity is phenomenal. I love it. And again, people might always be able to say, well, anyone can scare act. Well, yes, I can see what you're saying, but I've acted in a few mazes, but there's hundreds, thousands of people who are far better than me, and it's more of a case of what they can do as an individual, what they can, if they have been trained elsewhere. You might find some people who are a triple threat, who can sing, act, dance, but put them in a scare maze, they just go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So it might be a more it might be a role that more people can aspire to and reach and actually get to that brass ring and do it. But and that's what opens it up to. The youngest scare actor I've ever met was 7, and he was amazing. And the oldest scare actor I've met is probably in his 60s. So yeah, it's a phenomenal range.
Yeah, like with scare acting as well, it's often down to like the personality type, I reckon, because I know, coming from like a drama school, there are definitely people who are incredibly talented, but scare acting they could never do it, and it's not down to acting skill, it's really down to that personality, I reckon. And it's just amazing seeing that, if you hold that personality and have that kind of fun with it, then it's just great seeing people who would never get into acting do scare acting and just really enjoy themselves.
Definitely. It's a very welcoming industry as well, I think, which helps.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Speaking of like different attractions, now this might be a tough question, but it's like a tough question sandwich. There'll be a nice one afterwards.
Okay. I love sandwiches. So
good. So as a kind of reviewer of scare attractions, do you get like free tickets? And what is your perspective on that? Kind of like, how do you feel about it if you do or don't?
Tough question. If we're putting it bluntly, if this was a fast buzz around, I'd say yes. Now we do, but we never got in the game. There's this mentality now where people think, I'm going to set up a theme park Instagram page called I Love Roller Coasters, so I get free tickets to everywhere. That's a bad mentality. That's not the way it is. For years, since I started enjoying these kind of attractions, theme parks as well, or theatre, spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds to visit places that I wanted to visit. And the more places I did visit, the more expensive it got. And then one day, all of a sudden, I got an invitation to somewhere, to which I was like, okay, how much is it? Like, no, we're inviting you to our press night. I'm like, okay then, thank you. And again, that was one of those moments similar to the scare maze in Germany, humbling. Like, I never want to take anything like this for granted. So it's extremely humbling when that happens. And then a couple, because it sort of snowballed, because you are doing more episodes, that means that more people are potentially going to listen to you, or more promoters, or more event, people that run events might see that you've run an event at their mate, you've done an episode from the mate's event, or vice versa, or they might have met me at ScareCon and know that I really enjoy it. And although, don't get me wrong, I still spend hundreds of pounds on attractions and tickets, and because I want to do them as a person, and that's my escapism anyway. But I don't want anyone to ever think that Scaretrack is just a thing they're only going to say a nice thing because they've got a free ticket to this event. I think that's that's false promotion, in my opinion. And I know multiple people will do it, and I can understand where they're coming from. If people are getting invited to a press night, if you're the Sun newspaper and you're getting invited to a theme park press night, pretty certain they're going to say some nice damn stuff about that event. And there will be some fantastic stuff about an event. I've never been to an event and walked away going, there's nothing good about it. That's it. I'd like to think that's impossible. There's always got to be something good that they can either build on or improve with. But when it comes to going to these events, I think over the years we've done it a bit of time now, and although we don't get views like Sean with Theme Park Worldwide, who gets thousands because he's put effort in for the last 12 years, but I think certain attractions and events, and they kind of see that if they put on a good event and they want someone who's done 432 attractions beforehand to see it, they enjoy knowing that we've had a good time. Also, we're quite proud that we don't go to an event and then 2 weeks later we'll write a review about it, we won't record a podcast about it. If I've been to an event, near enough within 24 hours I'll get stuff out, and if the event share that's even good for them, because it's just more promotion. It's more of a case of helping the industry, promoting the industry. So although people might say, well, you just get free tickets. Well, some places, yes. That doesn't mean that I'm going to completely sugarcoat their review. It means I'm going to be honest and fair, and I'll do social media of the evening. I'll do a montage video that evening, so more and more people are seeing the highlights of the event, seeing all the good bits of this event. We'll do a scare cam mini episode, which helps people who are just more visual to see what's happening on YouTube. And then basically I've made it well harder for myself, because I have to film stuff, take photos, record something and then eventually we'll do a feature length episode of it on the podcast. So I like to think that people get a lot of attractions now, that they see that then we're not just going to go there, take some photos, go, that's good or bad. We try and, I don't want to say provide a service because that sounds silly, but we like to think, right, we'll do it. We'll go to your event, but we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll do that. And don't get me wrong, it's bit me in the butt before, being honest. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to ever say that's crap, but we've been honest when we've gone to events and we've been like, you know what, there's some great stuff, but they really dropped the ball there, or they've really, I really don't know what they've done this year compared to last year. And some parks take that on board and just go, fair enough, that's great, we'll work on that next year. Other parks go, but what does he know? And then other parks won't invite me back, and that's happened. So, but I'd rather keep my integrity.
Yeah, I'm glad you spoke about that, 'cause that was one of my questions later on, about whether you are completely honest, or whether wanting to publicize the industry more, whether you do hide some criticisms. But I'm glad that you continue to be honest with it, and even if some places don't invite you back, it's good that the people get an honest review and nothing's really being hidden from them.
Definitely. I mean, we'd never be brutal, because that's not good for anyone. That's like if a little kid got a really bad score in his test, the teacher can't then tell his parents he's doing really, really good. You can't. You got to tell the parents he's good with maths, but his English isn't that great. And it's just honesty. And then that kid next year might get really good English. It's, I don't know why I came to that analogy, but
it makes sense.
But yeah,
it's just being honest. Don't be brutal, but be polite about it as well, maybe. Except for Vulcan Peak, like you said.
Personally, from me, I mean, I've been listening to you since you probably started, to be fair, because I've always been interested in what it's like on Spotify, and you've helped me decide whether I'm going to these mazes or not. So you're doing that kind of job where, like, instead of me wasting money, last year I think I travelled to Blackburn to do Scarekin. That was amazing. I've done Psychomantium, that was interesting. Yeah. But a couple of places I've wanted to go to, and I've kind of listened to your podcast, I'm like, actually, it doesn't sound that good, because I know that you know what you're talking about. You're not going to say, "I'll come here," and then it's not very good, or there's problems with it, which I think is brilliant. So personally,
I appreciate that.
It's a really good thing that you do.
Yeah, thank you. I am quite lucky in the fact that there's lots of good places as well. Like, there's only one of me, and obviously there's a few more people in Scaretrack, but there's only so many days in October, so we can only go to so many events anyway. We don't have 20 people recording for us. We don't have any Tom, Dick, or Harry coming in going, "I've had a good time, thanks, bye." We'll get a couple of people doing scare cam takeovers, and then we'll interview them on the show for certain events selectively. But other than that, really, most of the time it's myself and Hannah, or just myself if she can't make it. So obviously there's events there that 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna get a good event, which helps, because the UK industry has just boomed over the years, which is great.
It's really good seeing it grow. Even though I've not been in it as long as many other people, but even in those 3 years, I've definitely seen more people getting involved with it. Media getting more involved with it, which is just fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah, it really is.
Right, so for our sandwich of questions, we're going to take a couple questions from the audience. First one is from Ash. She says, "I heard you scare easily. How true is that?"
I scare easily when I'm not expecting it. Right, so going through a scare maze or a Halloween, I'm more sort of pumped for it. Although I'll still get scared, and some people always go, "Do you even get scared anymore? You've done this many attractions." And the answer is yes. If if you watch lots of comedians, chances are that they're all going to still make you laugh. You don't just stop having a funny bone. So you're still going to get startled and scared. I get scared easily when I'm not expecting it. My wife does something at home and it scares the hell out of me. Or scary movies. The scare cams, they scare me to death, and she gets me. I can't cope with scary movies or things on the telly, things like that petrify me. So yeah, I'm still, in certain respects, very easily scared, which is great in a bad way.
No, that is really good, because the last thing you'd want is to, be void of all fear and going to a scare maze one day and going, I'm not scared anymore, because that would make some interesting podcasts, I reckon.
Definitely. And it's off-putting. It just means that you're not enjoying it, you're not taking in everything, and it's hard enough for me to keep my mind stop wondering on what kind of lights they use or what kind of fog they use. You have to try and think, have this experience, enjoy this experience. But also, imagine if I went through every single maze, and scare actors are trying their best to let's get Scaretrack, let's scare them, and they get nothing from me. I think you get out what you put in this sort of genre, and so yeah, it'd be horrible to think that you weren't scaring people. But yeah, I do get scared.
Yeah, it isn't. It's not a nice feeling at all.
It's very much like you build it up and you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be really good, and then it doesn't happen. You're like, oh, better look next time.
Never mind. Let's try again.
So our second question from our audience. This is a bit of a silly one here. So we have our own TikTok now. We set that up round about the start of lockdown. And question from our audience is from Greg. He asked, how many followers does Hannah now have on TikTok, and is it more than us?
Hannah has... I need to point out that Hannah's TikTok is totally separate. I started a Scaretrack TikTok, but I can't dance. I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah, very good, Charlie. Right.
Thank you. I've spent too much time on it.
Very good. But I've got other platforms. I've already got Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, and I thought TikTok, Hannah can do that. And Hannah now, last time I heard her dabbing, she's, I think, 15,000 followers.
Nice, that's awesome.
So yeah, she's doing quite well. She's doing quite well on TikTok.
Yeah, that's fab. So there's your answer, Greg. We don't have as many as them. There you go. That was a bit of a silly question.
I've got 1,000 TikTok followers, and that was a great achievement because I only made it for a joke. So I'm pretty proud of myself, to be honest.
I'm actually really jealous about that. Right, this is a real divergence.
I know.
But I've had TikTok for months, almost a year now, and you've had it for like a month, and you've got more than me.
I've not danced either at all. Not a single.
It's all
Neither
about the
have I.
algorithms. I don't get it.
I just do.
It's messed
I make
up.
myself laugh.
Me neither.
But
There's
yeah, Hannah's always TikToking, bless her.
It's good. I love them. They're fantastic.
They're
There is a
brilliant.
good question. Another good question on the page. I've got it up. Sorry, Charlie. Do you mind if I back the question? It is. What? Wait, there it is. What like attraction or thing made you like fall in love with scare attractions and the haunted industry?
What made me fall in love with it was Saw Alive in Thorpe Park, 2010.
Yes.
Before then, I did do, that was I classed that as my first attraction. I did do one more when I was a child called Ghosts Alive at Warwick Castle, but all I remember is holding my nan's hand till I nearly broke her fingers. And then my friend decided I went to Thorpe Park for the first time 10 years ago. My friend said, this is the queue for Saw the Ride. He lied. It was the queue for Saw Alive. And I was petrified. And I came out thinking that was the best thing ever. It was so good. I was studying for my degree at the time, so it was perfect timing. And I was just like, this is great. This is just promenade theatre of cruelty. This is why haven't I been doing this? Yes, it scared me a bit, but everyone I think knows that the best scare attractions are the ones that scare you but make you laugh as well. You come out and whether or not it's the person that's looking at you as you've left laughing at you, it's all humour. So yeah, the one that changed it all for me was Saw Alive at Thorpe Park.
I can agree with that. When I was 16, I think I was 16 at the time, about 10 years ago, I went to there first because I love the Saw movies. And that's when I went first in that, I was like that is amazing. The sets, like it's like the films. I was just like, this is fantastic.
Definitely, yeah.
And I'm gutted now. It's they've had to close it now, which I'm gutted about. That was one of the main reasons for going to Thorpe Park was to go to Saw Alive, mate, just for the sets.
It was good to have it all year round as well, or at least selectively year round, which is great. I mean, there's only so many places that do that, as in, I mean, yourselves all year round, but there's only so many places. So to have an actual scare maze of a franchise, like you say, Saw, that I really love, to have that year round was great. So yeah, that'll be sorely missed by lots of people, I think.
100%.
I agree. Sorry, just reading chat off that question. Someone just said, I fell in love with horror after seeing my wife's morning face in the morning. Thanks, chat. Nice. So, Aidan, I think you've got our next question.
Yeah, obviously during lockdown, a lot of companies like us and other companies are doing a lot of different ways to try and like keep your company like afloat. Would you say? Like we've done a scare maze. We've done an escape room a couple of weeks ago, but it was like virtual, and like people are obviously doing subscriptions for like Stream or for other companies are doing other bits. What do you think about them sort of ways to keep the companies afloat?
I think just doing absolutely anything at the minute, it's a big elephant in the room, isn't it? Like we'd all want to be talking about how much we love the scare industry, but really we're talking about how much we miss it and how much we want it back. And at the minute, it's hard for obviously the scare industry, but leisure and hospitality. I work in leisure. My wife works in hospitality, and it's only going to progress to other sectors as well. Thinking solely on our industry that we're talking about here, and scare attractions and escape rooms, things like that. Anything that people can do to keep afloat, do it. And what I see so far has been great. Like you mentioned, you did the escape room. I've just seen more escape rooms do online stuff, which is great. And what I love about that as well, one, that's obviously been innovative. It's thinking, right, we can't get people through our doors, but we can still do something. And whether or not they have an actor in the room doing it for them, whether or not it's just puzzles on the screen, whether or not it's computerized, any way they do it, it's still bringing an audience. It's still making them money. They might still be running at a loss, who knows? But it's making them money. What I think has happened with this whole pandemic is, although we're further away from everyone, it's brought us closer together when it comes to, me looking at my camera talking to you guys now. We're very, very lucky to be living in an age of I can pick up my phone and video call someone from America. It's easy as that. It's so good. And that's what's great about these escape rooms as well, is not only is it me and Hannah could do one, but we could do one with you guys, or we could do one with our friends in America, in Germany. It's only actually broadened their market, and it's something that I hope that potentially, even when all this is over, and I hope we go back to as close as normal as we did, I'm fingers crossed, I say these escape rooms should continue to do that, because people over in the States can try, an escape room from Southend. It's amazing. Farm parks and things like that, it's a little bit more difficult, obviously, because they're now currently relying on people enjoying their summer season to be able to prepare for the October season. And the likes of, I think Tully's Farm were first, Screenfest Burton at National Forest Adventure Farm, Fear at Avon Valley, who are Avon Valley Adventure Park, and most recently Farmer Ted's, which is Farmageddon up in Ormskirk. They've now all gone back to their old roots, when they used to have nothing like a scare maze or nothing like a children's adventure play park. They were farm shops that sold fresh produce, fruit and veg. They're now doing drive-through farm shops. Amazing. That's so good. One, it's helping people, and it's helping their business. So anything that people can do, and you guys, starting this up is great. It just keeps people continuing to see that your brand is out there, your product is there, and like I say, you mentioned earlier on your TikTok, that your TikTok's becoming bigger, and there's so much. I'm just watching Greg putting on his clothes. But it's good, because it's all about, although those select things aren't, bringing in cold hard cash, which is what companies like yours need right now, it's still making you relevant, and the brand is still out there, and people know that we're still here, guys. We're not going to just wait a little bit. So anything that people can do, I think, is a positive.
I think it's the inevitable of not knowing when it's going to end, or when, like, certain attractions, obviously some attractions, like other attractions I work at, like Warsaw Scare Maze, for example, I work at, like, they need to build their maze, but they can't do it at the moment. So it's kind of like, especially if you're like a smaller company as well, like these smaller companies have only got 2-3 mazes. It's like, how can they build it? How can they prep it in time? How can they get it's tough, because they can't obviously do what Zombie Infection do. Like, we've got streams, we've got all that. They just need to build an attraction.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, it's tough, isn't it? Not knowing when it's going to end.
Well, that's the hardest part, isn't it? Like, people we've always had certain dates in mind, and those dates are just getting longer and longer, and we really just don't know. And again, it's the same for any industry. I thought I'd be going back to work in the summer holidays, and it really doesn't look like I'm going back to work then. And if the company stays safe, it might even be 2021. We just don't know. But that's what's the difficult position now, are the likes of those parks who would currently be planning, building, making money to be able to do that. It might get to October, and it might have all disappeared. Like, it might have been like, oh wow, they've found drugs, or they've found a vaccine, or we've managed to do so well that it's nearly gone, and we might be able to have a normal October, which would be great. But it won't be a normal October, because Terror of the Towers at Alton Towers would normally get built in a few weeks' time. That's not going to happen. They start July, August. I know of certain places, I'm not going to say out here, who have actually said to me, this October is not going to be like our last October. Even if we can run as normal without, say, there's no social distancing, the plans that we'd normally have in place now, we can't, because if they do, we might be losing money by doing it, because they might not be able to do it. It's that unknown, isn't it? And although it's a very negative thing, it's also promising that, like I say, escape rooms are finding other ways, and farm parks are finding other ways to make money. And even if it's just enough to be able to feed the animals, that's the main thing. I've been able to keep ticking over. So I've got my fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah.
All got our fingers crossed.
Yeah. Literally, stay
Yes, we
safe for
have.
Halloween. That's all we want to do, isn't it? Stay safe. Hopefully,
Yes.
Halloween.
The
it can all be,
new government banner should say, "Stay alert, stay at home, save Halloween."
Agreed. I like it.
That's all. 100%.
Love it.
So Meg, I think you have a couple more questions for us.
Yes, last couple of questions. So, first one, who is your dream podcast guest?
Ooh, dream podcast. You know what? I think I've already had them on, and I didn't know they would be my dream when someone started this. They'd be like, "Who's your dream?" But I've had the likes of Scott Swenson on, and people in the UK might not know that name, but he actually he reached out, and he was the guy that created the first ever year of Busch Gardens Hollow Scream in Tampa, Florida, 20 years ago.
Okay.
And he helped design the very, very first, as far as we know, very first alone style scare attraction, I think, ever. And we got him on our little podcast here in the UK. To me, that felt like a little bit of a dream.
That is
the fact that I get someone of that caliber on. We were lucky enough we do Scaretrack, which is like our little side sister podcast for theme parks, because the theme parks, screen parks, they sort of come hand in hand. And when we went over to Europa Park, which is one of the best theme parks in the world, it's been voted best theme park, I think, the last 7 years now. Last year, they were building a multi-million pound huge water park. And we were lucky enough to interview the director of that water park, and we were the first ever members of the public to go in and see it behind the scenes while they were building. So those felt like dreams to me. If I needed a new dream, I'd probably say Russ McKamey, not because I agree with what he does, just because I think he's batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I've heard him talk on other podcasts and on interviews and documentaries, and this guy's mad. And I'd like to ask the questions that, although everyone says, "Are you crazy? Are you mad? Are you doing this?" I think I'd like to ask him actual scare attraction questions, which no one ever really does. They only ask, they just ask, why is he so batshit crazy? But I listened to the episode with Lee that you guys did, and when he first started, it was a far more normal, extreme style of attraction. I'd like to know how that started, why it progressed. I think I'd like to ask the questions that no one else has really asked. So yeah, maybe Russ McKamey.
That's
so you
awesome.
Wouldn't like to venture in? Yeah. You wouldn't venture into McKamey Manor then?
That would be really interesting.
Would I do? Hell no. I've done some extreme stuff, and we've covered it on the podcast. We've done Cracked, which is a 6-hour survival event again that Lee runs. I lasted 4 hours 23 minutes, which I'm proud of. But would I do it again? God, no, I wouldn't. But I suggest people do it again, because people love it and they come from all around the world to do it. But extreme stuff for me, I like intense, I like sick, I like twisted. But when I'm really aching the day after, I'm like, oh, no, that's not for me.
Yeah. So the person in reference, he's the guy who does McKamey Manor, which is in America, I think.
Yeah. In America.
So it's like a really intense, extreme, like scare maze. Like you get blood poured on you. You get like, I heard like live rats and stuff.
You get drowned. You get
rats, like snakes.
You need to sign like a 40-odd page waiver just to go in. Have to be over 18. Have to pass a drugs check on the day. Have to pass like the police checks.
It's worse than that. You have to go to a doctor and prove that you're mentally sane. That's how,
mentally and physically stable to do it.
You have to go to a doctor to check that you are mentally sane.
I've got 3 friends that have done it. 2 of them, they hated it, absolutely hated it. But a third friend, Christina, she won't mind me mentioning her name, she's done it 3 times.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. What?
It's on my list, to be honest.
Actually ever finished that attraction? Has anybody actually made it through?
No, they say that no one's ever actually done it, but then that he also, for a number of years, there was no safe word. Now he legally now has to have a safe word. So whether or not people, I don't know whether there's a set beginning, middle, and end. I think it's just what Ross decides to do. And each individual experience, I'm sure, is different. Like I say, he's on lots of different documentaries. He puts out his own movies on YouTube. So I don't know. Again, that's a question I'd like to ask. Like, you say no one's actually ever completed it. Like, is there a completion, or is it just one of those things where you just go round and round in circles until you physically can't take any more?
That's an interesting perspective on it, because I've never actually heard someone have that perspective. So yeah, now you're making me think. Do they just keep going until they quit?
Who knows? And he doesn't let them quit. I've seen some videos where people are like, Ross, I need to get out, stop. And he doesn't let them quit, because for so many years...
He just throws his head back in the water or something. You're like, oh my God, like, what is going on?
It's crazy stuff. It really is crazy stuff.
I would never do it. Ever.
No, God, no.
Even if you paid me £1 million, I wouldn't do it.
Well, I don't know. No. £1 million quid's a lot of money. But who knows?
Still no. But anyway, what are you looking forward to the most when the season finally kicks off again?
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to the most is the community more than anything. I'm really upset that Scarecon didn't go ahead this year. Scarecon, if anyone doesn't know, Europe's only scare convention where, although I really enjoy watching the seminars, listening to the talks, looking at the exhibitions, I love it more so for the people. The bubble, it's like a friendly, happy bubble for 3 days. And again, going to these screen parks, I love actually visiting them and enjoying them, but it's also then talking to people afterwards. It's the actors coming out afterwards going, I got you then, I really got you. Or it's talking to the owners going, did you like that scene because it was a bitch to build? You know what I mean? Things like that. It's the community is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah,
that's so lovely.
With you all, honestly, I miss it so much.
Yeah.
I think everyone else will agree.
Yeah, definitely agree. Now, going on to kind of technically a bit away from the podcast, but you have created an event. It was Cruelty, I believe, about social media. So could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so that was a collaboration with Faceless Ventures again. So you had Lee on the podcast a few weeks ago, and they are known for doing their extreme attractions, but also they're very heavily focused on immersive theatre. And I've wanted to for years kind of get back into the writing chair a little bit. And I didn't want to create a scare attraction or anything like that, because there's just so many people out there that know what they're doing, that people know their stuff. So we wanted to collaborate and sort of create a immersive theatre production that has elements of Artodian theatre, like we mentioned earlier, the theatre of cruelty, theatre of senses, but we wanted to really bring it into the 21st century. So we thought, what does everyone know about? Everyone knows about social media, that it's part of our lives for good or for bad, and we sort of focused on the bad stuff, and kind of just, I'm not going to say brought some major heavy taboos as such, but we did look at the sort of the instant gratification and the and basically just how people use and abuse it. For example, people, if I was to talk, well, not me, but if a gentleman was to talk to a lady at a bar, he might be very much so, can I get you a drink? Would it be nice to have a meal sometime? But whereas on social media, it seems to be, I'm going to swipe left, and I'm going to, boom, look at the boobs on her, I'm going to do this. And it becomes very sexualized or very, very animalistic. And that's what we tried to explore. Try to explore it in a sexualized manner, also in an abusive manner, trying to show that words are painful, and when words are easy to do but actions seem to be harder, So I don't want to give too much away because it's on tour, not right now, unfortunately, because of COVID-19. But we're really proud that this is a production we did with Faceless Ventures. That it didn't just have the one performance. It's gone on tour to different areas up north, which is great. But we would get people to read a card of pinch, slap, smack, cuddle, give a compliment, tell someone she's a slut, or something like that. It was very easy to sort of do these things to an inanimate object, but then we put them in front of a real person. And we basically just made it so people thought more about words they type, about the people they swipe left on, about the things they post that they force down other people's throats, and you wouldn't do that in real life. You wouldn't. I know on my social media, I near enough accept anyone that sort of adds me, but I wouldn't invite everyone into my home. It was kind of just that sort of thing. And it was really fun. Faceless Ventures, real professionals. They know what they're doing, and I think more people need to know that within, not just so much within the scare industry. Obviously, they do the extreme side of things. They have done normal, in air quotes, scare attractions as well, and they've been some of the best independent scare attractions I've ever done. But when it comes to their immersive theatre, they're based up north. Most immersive theatre in England, you'd probably say, is down in London. There's a real thriving scene for it. But I think more people, and I hope the scare industry can sort of piggyback on it, need to know that they're running some really good, thought-provoking immersive theatre. So yeah, I was very, very excited to work with those guys.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it sounds so good, and I wish I was there to experience it, because I think I was a university first year or something. But I really wish I could experience that, because so many of the projects have seemed really, really interesting, and I know I got to experience. They're small and they did it at HorrorCon, and that was fantastic to experience. So being able to do a full version, especially Cracked, I'd love to do that. Sounds pretty cool.
Cracked is insane, but it's great. It is good.
Now, hopefully we're going to get our games master Saz on, and what perfect timing to play our podcast game that we really enjoy playing. So Saz, once your video is on, I will let you take it away with the game. She's loading. Here she is. Whoa! Incredible!
Hello.
Can you see everything?
Yeah.
Because my screen's a bit different to normal because I'm squeezed up in the end, so I can't see what you guys can see.
We can see part of some of it, the middle part up to the up to the little squares, up to the little piece of paper, and then we can't see the right or the left.
Can you see
well.
there?
No.
I can see there. I can see there.
I'm going to click onto your camera. I can see now. Click onto your screen. There we go. Ignore me. I think it's mine.
I click onto your screen.
Oh, right. I've clicked on my screen.
I see you.
And that helps.
I can see you.
Give me 2 seconds just to lift myself a little bit.
Okay.
And then I've lost being able to see everyone.
It's all right. We're still here.
Yeah, we won't leave you.
There we go. Ah, fabulous. Hello. Hi, Mikey.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm Saz. Good. Right, so I've got one fateful night for you. Now, these guys have all had a go at playing, and it'll be up to you whether you want to go first or you want them to show you how it's done. But what it is, is basically you have been absolutely terrible over the past 7 days. You've been using Ouija boards, you've been watching VHS tapes that you shouldn't have been playing, and all that sort of jazz. You've been delving into everything that you possibly can.
Story of my life.
All the little Ouijas that you can have following you, you've got on your trail right now.
Okay.
Now, it is a full moon, it is night time, and there is something after you. Now, before you find out what it is, you're going to have to make the decision whether you run, hide, or fight it.
Okay.
After that, You'll choose one of these here to reveal what is after you. And then we're going to allow you to have a weapon.
Okay.
But you don't get to pick it. Our spinner does.
Okie dokie.
So we will see. Would you like to go first, or would you like one of the guys to?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go first.
All right, let's go
Okay.
for it. Would you like to run, fight, or hide?
I'm gonna fight.
You're gonna fight, so let's put you there on fight. Now, which one of these lovely blood-covered cards would you like to go for?
I am gonna go top left, the one with the heart on.
The hearts. Dun dun dun. You were watching a VHS tape 7 nights ago.
Oh man, no
You
point
got
running from that.
Samara.
There's no point fighting her, is there?
Samara. Oh dear.
Now, there is pretty much only one way of getting away from this. Well, actually, we've got 2 ways. You've got Hail Mary, and you've got time travel to undo their making.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, what's the betting? You're going to get one of them.
I mean, chances aren't there. But you know.
Right, cross your fingers.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's give you a spin. Oh, no, you get explosives.
Oh. Ouch.
Blow my telly up.
That could
Not
work.
do anything for you. Well,
It could.
you could blow
It
your telly
could.
up. Okay.
I'm gonna say
We'll
I've
give you
lost
1
that.
point for that. We'll give you 1
1
point
point.
because
1
it
point
doesn't
for blowing
kill
up
her
the telly.
altogether. So you only get 2 points if you manage to completely KO your baddie, and you get 1 point if you manage to survive. Blowing up your telly, good way to go.
Good
so you can
shot.
have 1 point for that.
Brill.
Fantastic. We'll let you have another go in a minute as well. So, Aiden, you said you were dying to play this game again.
Absolutely.
Would you
Right,
like
I'm
to
gonna-
go?
I'm
Run,
fighting.
hide, or fight?
I'm fighting this time.
You're fighting, Aiden. Okay, and what would you like to go for?
I've just realised currently Mikey has more points than me, and he's played it once. He's not even played it hard. He's not even played his full turn.
Yeah.
We'll go top right.
This one here?
Yeah.
Oh, you get zombie.
You better be experienced.
I mean, yeah, we'll have a spin, see what we get.
Let's have a little look, see what you get. Or you get spin again space, because we're leaving a bit of space for some
Oh, okay.
later villains. So that's a spin again space. You get an electronic pulse. Or
That
pulse
could
gun.
do something.
The
think-
electrical neurons.
Yeah, the electrical neurons. I think,
That
yeah.
could do.
I think you can get away with that. We'll give you 1 point on there.
I'll take
That'll
that.
slow
I'm
him
off,
down.
I'm off the ball. That's all I care about.
Charlie, what would you like to go for? Run, hide, or fight?
Last time I can't remember what I did, but I'm gonna go for hide.
Okay. And what one would you like to go for? There are certain numbers of blood spots that can help you pick which one as well.
I'll go for number 5, blood spot.
Number 5, blood spot. Let's have a look who we got here. You've got a Norman Bates.
Woo! Psychopath.
Dun, dun,
You've got
dun.
Psycho after you. Don't know what you were up to.
Naughty things.
Most things on here will kill Norman Bates, except if you get a wet fish, a Disney song, or jazz hand.
I could
Pretty
sure
much.
try jazz my hands out of anything.
Yeah, but you could. So we're hiding. Let's give it a spin. And you have got an invisibility cloak.
Oh yeah, hide into the
Okay.
max.
As that is the complete with hiding and invisibility cloak, that gives you 2. Because
Woohoo.
that beats the actual killing him. So
Booyah.
now on 3 points altogether, Charlie.
Boo, boo.
Okay.
Now, Meg, what would you like to go
Okay.
for? Run, hide, or fight?
I'm gonna run.
You're gonna run.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. And which one would you like to go for?
The one that says help.
dun, dun, dun. You've got Pinhead.
Ooh, I need to watch that film.
So do I. Oh, Pinhead.
You're pretty much already going for a loser on running.
I'm screwed.
Yes.
I need a Hail Mary. Spin it.
Pretty much screwed unless you get the Hail Mary.
Come on.
Oh, spin again, spin again. No. Yeah,
What
with
did I get?
just an invisibility cloak.
To be fair, he wouldn't be able to see me, so I'd be able to run away.
He's not seeing you. You're running, so he can't quite get to. Yeah. We're gonna give you 1 point on that, Meg. You've survived so far. So
Dodged
you're
a
now
bullet on that one.
And you all have survived that night, so you get to go again.
Yes.
So
But Aiden's happy.
Would you like to stay with fighting, or would you like to move to a run or a hide?
I'm gonna run this time.
You're gonna run. Okay. And what would you like to go for?
I'll go bottom right, please, in the corner.
Bottom right, yeah. Ooh, you've got Freddy Krueger.
Dun dun dun.
Now, what are you hoping for with Freddy?
Oh gosh, I mean, he gets me in my dreams, so
Energy
I don't
drinks.
know, something to keep me awake.
Coffee.
Jesus.
Coffee, yeah.
Okay, let's have a look. If you get a Hail Mary. Oh, that wasn't a proper spin. Let's give you a proper spin. Time travel to undo their making.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
Is that
I'd say
possible
so.
with Freddy? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I
From
guess.
being
Yeah.
killed.
I
Yeah,
think
man.
so. That's. I mean, I'm trying to research them best I can.
If you stop him from being killed, he doesn't become the vengeful spirit that he is, so he won't
Yeah,
kill you.
exactly.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Time.
So you're getting full score on that one. You get 2 because you've run away from him, got into your time travel. Boom.
A
So
time
Beautiful
machine.
dash, Bosh.
A full 3 points altogether for you.
Buzzing.
Oh, top of the leaderboard for the guests so far.
Yeah. So
Hey.
you're both Lee
Perfect.
and Amber now. So you got 1 from your first go and 2 from this go. Aiden, what would you like to go with?
I'm fighting still as well.
You're sticking with fighting, and what one would you like to pick?
The one next to Freddy, the middle, three dots. Is it 3? Yeah, that one.
3 blood spots.
Ooh,
Oh, dear.
Slender Man.
You've got Slender Man. That's not so good.
I meant the other 3
No.
blood dots.
What are the 3?
Oh, let's give you a spin, and hopefully you'll get a Hail Mary and survive.
Or spin again. I'll take that. I'll take a spin again.
Whoa, that's courage, that is.
Oh, I mean,
No.
Now look, mate.
Sorry.
You're dead,
Nah.
mate. KO.
That's diddly squat.
I wanted a point, and I got a point. That's all I care about.
I'm proud
I
of
got
you.
my point, and I'm proud of myself.
Right, let's go back to Charlie.
Hey up. I'll fight, please.
You're gonna fight this time. Okie dokie. And what one would you like to go for?
I'd like to go for the middle top, please.
Our blood spot splodge there.
Ah!
Got Stay Puft.
He's so cute!
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Love it.
So he's cute and tasty, but he's also quite deadly.
He could happily kill me. I'll be fine with that.
So
We need a
proton gun.
We need a proton gun.
Electronic gun will have some effect as well.
Right.
Fire as well. Burn him. Burn
Proton
him.
gun!
Oh!
Hey!
Look at the look on that!
So, fantastic. So you've gone with fire and you've got proton gun. So you get 2 points.
Praise be.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Right, Meg, you're the last one. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna hide.
You're going to hide this time.
I'll take the one next to Pinhead on the left. In the middle. Yeah, that one.
Frankenfurter.
Okay.
Oh, from Rocky Horror!
Rocky
Yeah.
Horror. I
I was like-
a little bit of a curveball in there.
The hot dog.
But he
I could
does
pretty
kill
much-
people.
I know he a bad man, but he hot.
You have got a sexy man that you can trade.
I can
So if you
chuck,
get
it, chuck,
sexy
chuck
man-
Rocky at him and make a run for it.
That's a good idea. So let's have a little
Spin.
look at what we've gone for. Oh, I didn't actually spin the place out. Hang on. It's quite difficult on the wall. Courage. Yeah, you're hiding with some courage. I think you've survived with 1 point there.
Frankenfurter would find that hot, so
He's not got any special abilities to be able to find you, to be
No.
fair, and you're convicted in your hiding. So yeah, 1 point for you.
I found a
Again?
good hiding spot.
I'm the only person to not survive both nights. Let's do it. Come on.
it's just
And I
reverse
think
luck.
So that's it.
That was fantastic. What's the leaderboards at now, Saz?
Yeah,
Right,
man.
so Mikey is at the top of our guest of leaderboard. Can you see it? Or do I need to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just about.
Yes.
There we go.
There we go. So you've got Mikey, he's going to go to the top. You've got Meg and Charlie drawing from all of their goes together, but Charlie won home tonight out of everybody. So, and you're
Hey.
both above Greg, but Greg's only played one. So,
Yeah,
We'll
somehow
do
he managed to
three.
survive both nights.
Yes.
Miraculously.
Aiden, you're last with 1 point.
You know what? I'm proud of me.
Rest in
I've
pieces.
got courage. I've got courage. You know what?
Well,
Courage.
Thank you so much for that, Saz.
Thanks.
Thank
So
you.
That was
no one
awesome.
kills me on my knowledge of villains, though.
Well, it's been awesome, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's been real good.
No, thank you. It's been
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So next week,
I've really
Thank you.
enjoyed listening.
oh, thank you, Saz. Thank you. But yeah, next week, me and Meg, and hopefully some other people, will be discussing Pandora, which we are actually actively taking part in.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say too much about, but in 5 minutes we'll be doing some stuff to do with it. So,
Mhm. It's
um,
amazing.
yeah, it's
All
real
I
good.
don't know is it's awesome.
It's
So
so interesting, and every time I get a notification, I'm always like, "Oh crap, it's this!" But I'm in class, and damn it, I need to do this.
I know,
So,
and I,
yeah.
like, research it, and I'm just like, wow, this is really interesting, and I'm thinking I might actually look into this more when it's all done because it's just that interesting.
So hopefully you'll get an insight on that next week. But thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us. It's been fantastic. This will be up on our YouTube channel hopefully soon. And
You're
yeah,
muted.
You're on mute. You're
I wasn't
mute.
on mute for the entire of the stream, but the podcast will be available on YouTube, and hopefully soon Spotify and other podcast places. I'm working on that. But
are.
yes, hopefully see you next week, guys. Thank you so
See you
much.
next week.
Bye.
Thanks,